Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by Speedstream. I'm Jim Cardle. State Representative Dan Flynn is the Vice Chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. He's a member of the Homeland Security and Border Security Committee. But the issue of the day is the UT Board of Regents and the investigation into Regent Wallace Hall. Dan Flynn is co-chairman of the House Transparency Committee, and we're pleased to be able to visit with co-chairman Dan Flynn today. For joining us, Dan.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to be here.
You have been a frequent guest on our show, and since the last time you came in, have held a couple of new hearings on the UT Wallace Hall investigation. Let me just jump right in if I can first in respect for your time. Since you were here last, it's been appearing in the media increasingly. It appears that things are reaching a certain fevered pitch, so to speak. But if I can just get to the process, it seems like the process has been overlooked in this, and you are, as a co-chairman of the committee, charged with following a process to get to the bottom of an investigation. Tell us, if you can, what's your process and where are we in the process?
I think the one thing that we really, the public needs to be aware of, this is not a judicial process. This is a legislative investigative committee.
Okay.
And therefore, there are certain guidelines that we have to go by and follow. From the very beginning, I've told everyone, at the end of the day, I want everyone to feel like we've had a thorough and fair investigation. Our responsibility is to determine whether or not there is a reason to recommend to the House, the Speaker and the House, impeachment. And today, a vote was taken that we will recommend that there are issues that reach to the point where they should consider an impeachment. However, that doesn't mean he's going to be impeached. It means that the committee will now go with our attorneys, that's the Legislative Council and our House Attorney, and determine those articles of impeachment. And we'll work with the members of the committee. And it's an interesting process, as we've talked before. There's never been an impeachment of a appointed member. There's been impeachment of two elected individuals, Governor Ferguson and Judge J.P. Corrego. And those were different issues. They've both been years ago. And so
decades ago, if I might add. A lot of people are focusing on national impeachment, but it's coming to light here at the state level. It's been decades, if not 100 years.
Right. So what we did today is we are going to, the committee will meet in May the 21st, and we will be working in the meantime on those articles of impeachment. Now, there will be a number of them. There will be committee members that will vote for some of those articles, and there will be committee members that will vote against some of those articles. So the process is continuing. I voted today in favor of the recommendation because I think it was important to continue the process. The process is what we want to protect, the integrity of the House in this investigative program. I think often people think that procedural votes are somehow or another not prudent. But on the other hand, that's how the process works. And if you voted against it, you may not be able to participate in the process. I felt like as a co-chair of the committee, it was very important for me to be able to continue to participate in the writing of those articles of impeachment.
So in the meantime, you're being maligned by members of the conservative right as the lapdog of the governor, or representing the liberal Joe Straus as speaker, all kinds of totally inappropriate, if I may editorialize, labels. But in the end, you're trying to go through the process. So the question then becomes, have you ever accepted football tickets to UT football games?
You know, I made the decision when this committee started that I personally was not going to attend the University of Texas football games. I don't have a problem with any of the committee members. If they want to do it, that's fine. I felt like as co-chair, I just needed to stay away from that. And kind of to set the record straight, Governor Perry has never discussed this with me. His
Really?
only comment to me has always been, follow your heart. And we do not discuss this at all.
And that was probably months ago.
Oh, it was maybe a year ago.
How about Speaker Strauss?
Speaker Strauss, the only comment that he has ever given to me was, protect the integrity of the House. And since then, we don't have a conversation about this. Sometimes I wish they would give me a little bit more guidance, but the bottom line is they have allowed this committee to operate, and the committee has done some good work. We really have on other issues, and I guess the other issue that folks have trouble understanding, and that is that this committee was not a select committee for this purpose. This was a committee that was appointed right at the beginning of the 83rd session. So we have been in committee. I didn't get to pick whether or not I wanted to be on this committee. I didn't get to pick the members of the committee, but the committee has done some good work. CPRIS is one example of some of the work that we did.
That's the Cancer Prevention Research Institute of Texas.
That's right.
And if I may, Chairman, along those same lines, is it not true that there have been already some procedural changes at UT? It seems to me that your committee, while it's going through the process, may or may not have the ability to come to a successful conclusion where all sides are happy with what you do, but there have been positive actions and changes in procedures as a result. After all, you were the author of one or two bills during the session on government transparency.
Correct.
But talk about, if you can, some of the changes that you've seen at UT in the meantime.
I think this is a very positive. Right as this committee started, and we were pointing out issues that we saw where there were perhaps some deficiencies, and in the governor's appointment office, they've already made changes of how they're going to make appointments. The Senate Confirmation Committee has already made changes of how they're going to handle the confirmation. And the new chairman of UT, Mr. Foster from out of El Paso, has already come in, and he's sort of taken the longhorn by the horns, I guess the best way to say, and has started making some changes and recognizing the need for more transparency.
And I would assume when you're saying changes, it's not changes to make it more easy for collusion to be covered up, but for transparency,
Absolutely,
correct?
absolutely. That's exactly what all of them have done. I feel like that the committee has done a good job in working towards that. Today, it was a procedural vote. It's one of those things where we will continue to work. I'm like everyone else. I think the attorney that we had, Mr. Rusty Harden, he and his staff did a good job of providing us some tools that we could use. I have written some letters. I'd just say other members of the committee have also had input.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them have been leaked to the press, and that's unfortunate because those were issues that were only for members of the committee in determining the direction we needed to go and to add to those comments of Mr. Harden, and that's part of the process. So today there was sufficient evidence, we believe, that there should be a consideration for potential impeachment. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It simply means that it's an ongoing process, and those articles will be drawn up, and I'm sure we've already started on them, to tell you the truth.
You mentioned Rusty Harden. I want to get to that in a minute. First of all, folks, thank you again for joining us for this edition of Texas Insider TV with State Rep Dan Flynn, co-chairman of the House Select Committee of Government Transparency and Oversight. Representative, you mentioned Rusty Harden, one of your employees, so to speak, as counsel for the committee. There was a report, let me ask you this if I can, a month or so ago that inappropriately was either leaked or got into the media that maybe could have been classified as a confidential document. Talk about what you know about that, if you've chased it down, or if there's any concern still with that report.
The report was very, very large. I mean, it was two major notebooks and other materials, well in excess of 100,000 documents.
Really?
And these were all his working papers. And I guess the irritating thing is that the media had it before all the committee members had it. So I don't know how the process was a failure there, but anyway, the
So it
problem
wasn't
is-
you?
No, it wasn't me. And my working paper, my letter, in fact, it's interesting, it's printed personal and confidential and only sent to members of the committee, and yet I was having phone calls that afternoon from members of the press asking me about it. And so yeah, but I mean, you know, this is what we deal with, and I don't like it, but I'm learning to live with it.
To jump subjects a hair, so to speak, and get into the political realm, because this is becoming a political tar baby. You have always been one of the top 5 members ranked by all the conservative organizations. Now you're being accused of being otherwise. You've always been a fiscal watchdog. Now you're being accused of being other things. Do you see this playing out, or is there any possible scenario that your critics or the defenders of Wallace Hall would be able to claim victory, assuming that that's what they want, or is this a tar baby that's just never going to be resolved to perfection?
Well, there's no question that there's, you know, all elections have consequences, but as I said earlier, my whole idea here was I wanted to be sure we did a thorough investigation and it was fair. To speak to Mr. Hall, I mean, this is a man who was given opportunity to come and testify, numerous letters. He was given opportunity to bring anyone in that he wanted as a witness.
I think you're on record as saying you've extended every opportunity almost available, correct?
That's exactly right. And he and his attorney decided not to participate in the process. And I, quite frankly, I was very disappointed. I felt like it was a slap in the face to the members of the committee and the legislature. I mean, if you're going to be out there throwing rocks at people and then refuse to participate in the process, your own credibility is of question then.
And at this stage, I guess, a final question to let you get back over to the Capitol. You're having to work with the Travis County DA. There are certain steps in the procedure you've been describing. What, over the next month or prior to your next hearing you mentioned on May 21st, talk about working with the Travis County DA if you can.
You know, the Travis County DA will do their own investigation, and we will cooperate with them fully. Whatever information they request, it'll be available to them.
And I guess it's just are you responsible for turning over certain things, everything? Is it responding to their requests?
Anything that the Travis County DA wants, they can get.
Okay.
And that's, you know, that here again goes back to process. And if they request it, they'll get it. So there's just no question that we would be cooperative to them in every way that we can be. But it's their investigation.
And then finally, Co-Chairman Flynn, in perspective of the ratcheting up of media attention in the bigger scale of things, not to belittle the importance of government transparency, but tell us, if you would, from maybe a more personal note. You mentioned that you didn't choose to be on this committee. Did you ever in your wildest dreams anticipate that something like this would be part of your co-chairmanship?
No, I think that we were, you know, our whole goal was to do investigative issues of a need for transparency. We've been doing that, and this ended up in our committee. And at the end of the day, I want people to know that this committee has worked together. I'm very proud of the members of that committee. We don't always see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, we've come back and done some outstanding work. I think we've made Texas a better place. And at the end of the day on this, there'll be a lot of people unhappy, but there'll be a lot of people happy. And all I want it said is that we did a thorough and a fair investigation.
Well, Godspeed on that. We're going to leave it there. I should mention that, State Representative, you're coming up on 2 years as a cancer survivor. And you've also, congratulations, been promoted in the Texas State Guard from Lieutenant Colonel to Colonel.
Yes, sir. I have.
We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. God bless. Appreciate
Folks, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV with Co-Chairman of the House Transparency and Government Oversight Committee, Dan Flynn from House District 2. We want to remind you that you're either an insider or you're not. Be sure and tune in for future editions. Thanks. I'm Jim Cardle.